Hello, everyone, and thank you for being on time. We are just going to wait a minute to allow the stragglers to also participate and join. So we'll get started in about a minute here. But once again, thanks for joining and being on time. Appreciate it. All right, everyone. Thank you for joining the latest episode of the Uplink COVID-19 Wearable Solutions with Helium and CareBand. My name is Gemmell, and I'm responsible for B2B product marketing and product management. With me, I have a couple of very special guests from CareBand. Adam, Kelly, why don't you guys introduce yourselves?
Thanks for joining, everyone. My name is Adam Sobol. I'm the founder and CEO of CareBand, and I'm very excited to share our solution with you today.
Hi, everyone. I'm Kelly Hurtis, and I am in digital health strategy at CareBand. My background is in medical devices as an engineer, and now I'm also a student at Harvard Business School. And I decided to join Adam's team because I was really excited to help him commercialize this new technology that can help so many people.
Great. Thanks, guys. So here's our agenda. We've already gone over the intros. I'm going to share some information about the Helium network. After that, I'll tee it up for Adam and Kelly and just touch on some of the challenges that companies are facing when trying to deal with COVID-19. Adam and Kelly will go into a lot more detail with their SafeTrack Solutions and talk about how their wearables and what they are delivering is really going to help companies protect workers and keep workers safe and comply with certain guidelines coming out from OSHA and the CDC. After that, we will open up for Q&A. So we'll save the Q&A until the end. There's a couple ways that you can ask questions. One is the chat, and so feel free to use the chat throughout the presentation. And then at the end, if you feel like it, feel free to ask questions the old-fashioned way. Unmute yourself and just ask. So briefly, Helium. So Helium was founded in 2013 by the CEO Amir Helium and his co-founder Sean Fanning. And what they identified was this massive opportunity to make it very simple for sensors or devices to transfer data to the internet. They had come from a background of building software and selling software companies, and they couldn't understand why it was so difficult to send data from the physical world to the digital one. So they recognized this huge opportunity, and they were very fortunate to share their vision with a number of very highly reputable VC firms, including folks like Coastal Ventures, FirstMark, Google, Multicoin Capital, and USB recently. And these firms also shared in the vision and felt there was a huge opportunity that was just waiting for a company to take advantage of. So what these two guys recognized back in 2013 was there's a huge gap between the networks and the connectivity for phones and computers available today and what is really needed for this next generation of IoT devices. And so these devices have very different demands from computers and phones in that they want to be able to run on years of battery, not have to plug it in and recharge it every night. Tiny form factor, so it's applicable to a number of different use cases. Being able to do asset tracking over very large distances without having to use something like cellular, which is very expensive and also drains batteries very quickly. In addition to that, making sure that you've got this miles of range capability, but also open source is very important, not getting locked into, these proprietary technologies, open source, open standards, very important. And then obviously making sure that the data is secure during transfer as well. So Helium saw this huge opportunity, but also a very big challenge. So how do you create a purpose-built network for these next generation IoT devices? Now, there's a couple ways you can do it. One is you could buy a bunch of networking infrastructure, deploy it out, and what's going to happen is it's going to cost a lot of money, it's going to take a lot of capital, and it's going to take a long time. And even if you're able to do that, at the end of the day, are you really better than this miniaturized telco or like an ISP? And what we've seen is that these monopolies or these large companies that dominate connectivity in a centralized manner is not always the best for the people who are actually using the network. And so we decided to try to do something different. And we created what we call the world's first peer-to-peer network. And rather than Helium trying to, as I said, deploy a bunch of network infrastructure and just build it by ourselves, we thought, what if we take a different approach and incentivize anyone to participate in building this network? So with Helium, anyone can purchase a hotspot, plug it in, attach it to their Wi-Fi, and now they are building coverage for these IoT devices. But in addition to that, they are also earning a new cryptocurrency, not only for just providing coverage, but in the near future, when devices actually use their hotspot to connect to the internet, there will also be allocated a reward for that activity as well. And so if you're able to build this network with the help of a community rather than by yourself, you get a couple of really big benefits. One is you can build this network very rapidly. So you can very quickly build this network. The other is the cost of connectivity becomes very low. And the third one is the network doesn't belong to a single company. So you're not worried what happens if that company goes out of business or what have you. The network is owned and operated by the community and will continue on regardless of what happens with Helium, knock on wood. So in order to build this network, you need hardware and you also need a network architecture. So for the hardware, this is a Helium hotspot. It's a small physical hardware device, and there's two major capabilities. One is, as we had mentioned, providing this coverage for IoT devices across many, up to many square miles of distance. And then the other is we are using a blockchain to make sure that the network is truly decentralized. And this hotspot is also a miner on the blockchain. And hotspot owners are able to, as I said, mine tokens based on the coverage that the hotspot is providing. So that's the hardware. There's also something that we created called LongFi, and LongFi is this network architecture that combines an open wireless protocol with our blockchain. So the wireless protocol is called LoRaWAN. It's an open standard. It's been around for years, and over time it's gotten better and better. What we benefit from by having this LoRaWAN compatibility is that any LoRaWAN device, and there's hundreds of hardware manufacturers that build these IoT devices that are compatible with LoRaWAN, can just start using the Helium network. So off-the-shelf LoRaWAN device, just plug it in, onboard it with our device management console, and now you can start transferring data over the Helium network. Device roaming. So unlike a private network that is confined just to the range of that network, with device roaming, you can have a device or a sensor that is connecting in Alaska, and if it finds itself in Florida, all it needs to do is make sure that it's in coverage of a hotspot, and now it can continue to send whatever data that it needs to. We talked about hotspot owners getting rewarded for sensors sending data through their hotspot, and the way that we can do that is with our Helium blockchain. So making sure that we are capturing those transactions on the blockchain and making sure that hotspot owners are rewarded proportionately. Cryptographic proof of time and location. So anytime that there is a connection event, that event is recorded on the blockchain. And for folks who are familiar with blockchain, that means that that data on that digital ledger is now permanent or immutable. And so this could be useful for reports or audits to really identify, okay, where did this device connect and at what time? Well, you never really know. So you have a great idea, but you never really know until you launch into the market what the reception is going to be. And we started shipping nationwide in the US in October, so around 9 months. We've already seen sales to over 1,000 cities, all 50 states in the US. We started in the US. We are also selling hotspots in Canada, the EU, and the UK as well. So this is actually an older graphic, maybe a couple of weeks old, but these dots represent the network. And all of these dots are someone has decided to participate in providing coverage. So they've plugged in the network, they plugged in a hotspot, providing coverage and helping build this community of network providers. Now, if you want to see a real-time view of this, go to network.helium.com, and it's a live view, and you can see the latest in terms of where these deployments are happening. And again, these are deployments, these are not sales, so it's a bit of a lagging indicator. We have much more sales than deployments, and it just takes time for people to actually get around to plugging in and start providing coverage. So why Helium? We believe that companies who do have these IoT use cases and want to address them, they should be able to focus on their applications and not having to worry about the network. So we, in those 9 months, we have built the largest public IoT network in the US using LoRaWAN, that open wireless protocol. It has been optimized for both long range and long battery life. We made a decision to minimize the barriers to somebody participating or wanting to use this network. And so we've kept the connectivity cost very, very low. As an example, if you had a sensor and it was sending, say, location information every 5 minutes, every day for the entire year, at the end of the year, that sensor would have sent a little over 100,000 messages, and the cost would be a little over $1. So keeping those connectivity costs very, very low. Open source, as we mentioned, is very important, making sure that this network is truly decentralized. Helium Inc. obviously is near and dear to our heart, but if for some reason Helium Inc. Fell off the face of the earth, the network would still continue to function. And we talked about supporting these commodity sensors. Any sensor that is LoRaWAN compatible can run on the Helium network. Blockchain provides this very unique capability besides powering this decentralized network, but being able to record these connection events permanently. So I'm just going to tee it up a little bit for CareBand. They will go into much more detail, but what you've seen is guidelines from OSHA and CDC for employers about what to do in the case of COVID-19 infections. And these guidelines are very straightforward, very reasonable, like making sure that you're identifying and isolating potentially infectious individuals, make sure that you're taking action and identifying other employees who came in close contact and closing off any areas that had seen prolonged use from a potentially infected person. So very, very reasonable. But if you think about the actual logistics of being able to do this while you are a facilities manager, and let's say you've got 3 shifts, and Alice from your night shift calls in and says, hey, you know what? I've just tested positive for COVID-19. I'm going to be taking the next 2 weeks off. I just want to let you know. Well, as that manager, how do you then comply with some of these guidelines? So you know who the other employees were on the shift, on the night shift. Maybe there's a couple other hundred, but how do you know which employees actually came into contact or came within 6 feet of Alice, so that you can identify them, isolate them, and prevent them from causing further infection, right? So straightforward guidelines from a logistics and like a real world application, very challenging to actually make it happen. And what we're seeing is that people are using very manual efforts to try to comply, which is it takes a lot of time. Workers don't like it, and it's inaccurate as well. So just wanted to again highlight, this unique capability that we have with blockchain. OSHA's guidelines describe record keeping for COVID-19 and recordable as an event. Helium blockchain is, you can think of it like a cryptographic notary where the events from the devices, we talked about like time and location of these events, can be added to the blockchain and no one can alter them. So if you like the idea of a community-built network that is owned by everyone, there's kind of 2 avenues that you can follow. One is if you want to help participate building coverage and get rewarded, you can go to the helium.com store and order it online. If you want to use the coverage and you have IoT use cases and you like the idea of using the largest public IoT network and very low connectivity costs, the way you get started is go to console.helium.com. You can sign up. You can start using our device management console and start playing around with it. So we are happy that we can participate with CareBand on COVID-19 solution, but we do have other companies that are also using Helium for non-COVID type use cases, like for ag tech, protecting art and art collections, tracking for a number of different use cases, including pets or micromobility. So just wanted to show that. And a couple more slides here. IoT for good, we feel that there's a lot of really intelligent, creative developers out there. And so we've hosted a contest to get them to participate and think about ways that they can use IoT for good and help some of the needs in today's society. We partnered with folks like ARM, Semtech, ST Microelectronics. The contest was actually extended, so the submission deadline is the beginning of August, I believe August 9th. So go to this URL if you want to show off your skills and care about building some applications that can really make a difference. And we have a promo. So if you want to use a network until August 31st, you will get free $100 in connectivity to send device data over the Helium network. So $100, it's like, okay, it could be more, but $100 represents around 10 million messages that you can send on the network. So it becomes very significant when you think about how low our connectivity costs are. And with that, I'm going to hand it over to Adam and Kelly.
Great, thank you. So as I said, my name is Adam Sobol. I'm the founder and CEO of CareBand. I'm super excited to share our SafeTrack solution with you today. Our team's been working on this solution since March, and I'm really confident that it can help you get back to work, back to school, and back to a new normal. Next slide. Before we dive into our new solution, I wanted to share a little bit of how we got here today. I started the company back in 2014 after identifying a real need in the marketplace for a solution to help people living with dementia maintain their safety and independence for as long as possible. My traditional background is in cybersecurity and software engineering, yet I come from a family of doctors. My real aha moment to start the company was when I realized the opportunity to combine my family's clinical expertise with my technology passion. Since then, CareBand's been deployed to multiple different senior living facilities. We've won numerous awards, such as Richard Branson's Extreme Tech Challenge IoT winner in 2019, and the American Medical Directors Association's Shark Tank winner in 2018. We've also been funded by the National Institute on Aging to explore if CareBand can detect agitation in people with dementia. We've also formed outstanding research partnerships with Indiana University, Cleveland State University, and many others. Our CareBand solution, solves a core need in the caregiving and senior living space today, specifically for people with dementia. We provide a single solution for both indoor and outdoor location tracking and behavior monitoring that leads to early changes in condition and notifications on that. With all of this momentum, we had a great year planned for 2020, but as COVID hit, we were forced to adjust our solution while maintaining kind of true to our mission. Next slide. Since the beginning, our mission and our focus has really been on keeping people safe and healthy using a combination of emerging technologies and machine learning. Next slide. Today, the problem with COVID is that cases are continuing to rise, people are continuing to die, and it's clear that the system as it stands today has room for improvement. There's challenges with availability of testing and timely and accurate results of testing. Physical distancing might not be happening in all settings. And finally, contact tracing. It's mainly a manual process that's very time consuming, relies on the memory of people, and it's expensive to deploy. The biggest challenge with the traditional contact tracing today is that it takes a lot of time. And especially in surges or in places where there's a lot of cases at once, time is really not on our side. And as we've seen repeatedly, that our methods just do not scale very well with demand. Next slide. One of the most important or one of the most difficult parts of managing a pandemic is figuring out that path of transmission. At a macro level, scientists use sophisticated computer models to predict what that spread of disease looks like, yet it's hard to understand what the exact transmission looks like on a micro level. And that's where contact tracing really comes in. Public health officials really rely on contact tracing to do this part of it. And it's not new. Contact tracing has been around for a long time. During the Black Death in Europe, for example, people used to place a red cross on doorways of people known to be infected as a means to discourage contact and figure out where the disease was spreading. It's also worked in the SARS and in other large pandemic cases as well. Even today, we've seen South Korea's successful implementation of automated contact tracing has been shown to slow the transmission of the virus. We've also seen that large companies such as Google and Apple have gotten into this space to try and create universal solutions. So there's clear evidence around that contact tracing is really a valuable solution for a pandemic response. Next slide. What we know today from all the guidelines and the recommendations from the CDC and the CMS is that the magic formula to reopening safely and slowing the spread is a combination of testing and contact tracing. What we also know is that testing alone isn't going to work. Knowing who's positive is a start, but to slow the spread, we actually need to know who they interacted with and as quickly as possible. It's clear that companies, universities, senior living communities, and governments need a simple, scalable, and affordable solution for contact tracing to slow the spread and safely reopen. Next slide. The solution is SafeTrack. It's a comprehensive system to track and trace, document, and inform. SafeTrack is the first of its kind to develop a LoRaWAN-based system that combines a wearable with organization management and automated notifications for potential exposure. This unique combination of a non-cellular device plus risk management software results in a simple, scalable, and affordable solution for manufacturers, universities, and senior living communities to keep their employees, staff, and visitors safe and healthy. Next slide. It all starts with the SafeTrack Wearable. This is a powerful LoRaWAN wearable that's compact, light, and comfortable. It can be used for multiple different purposes. These include contact tracing, where it logs interaction details, including the time of that interaction, the distance of that interaction, and the device IDs of that interaction. It also enables for proximity monitoring, where when two or more devices are close to each other, they can vibrate to alert each other to not be so close to each other. And lastly, it allows for geofencing or zone monitoring to have notifications when entering or exiting a certain area. Also, by default, the device doesn't provide any location tracking. Yet, if you want to know where the hotspots are in a building or an area, you can add indoor location beacons to the system to provide precise indoor location of where those interactions are taking place. Next slide. Next is the organization dashboard. This dashboard provides a snapshot of an organization's risk profile for COVID-19. It provides all the necessary tools to keep your employees, staff, and visitors safe and healthy. You can create and track cases, send automated notifications to people who may have been exposed to a positive case, and even follow up with a symptom check to those people during their incubation period. And the value of the SafeTrack system doesn't stop with the organization administration. Next slide. With the employee mobile app, employees get access to their data and analytics around their interactions. They even are provided the closest testing centers and information about when signs turn into symptoms and even when to contact a provider. Next slide. The solution was developed to be simple, scalable, and affordable. Using the power of low-power wide area networks, SafeTrack automatically and passively sends data to the cloud via LoRaWAN. With the Helium network, the LoRa network can expand to miles around the community or a state. Once with Helium, the data is securely transferred to the SafeTrack cloud and pushed down to the website, mobile app, or to APIs. To share an example of how this works with you, Kelly's going to walk us through how this works for senior living.
Next slide, please. Okay, we're going to walk through an example with Anne. And Anne is a nursing assistant at Daisy Senior Living. On Monday, June 1st, Anne is out in the community and she's been very diligent about taking all of the precautions, but she is exposed to the virus that causes COVID-19 while she's at the grocery store. The incubation period for COVID-19 is anywhere from 2 to 14 days, but on average it's about 5 days, which means that Anne will likely start developing symptoms in about 5 days. Next slide. So on Friday, the 5th day of her infection, Anne wakes up with a little bit of a sore throat and a runny nose, but she attributes it to her allergies. Daisy Senior Living has implemented precautionary temperature screening. So before her shift, Anne takes her temperature and it comes back normal. So she goes into work. That morning, Anne sees Betty walking to her bed, but having a little bit of difficulty. So she steps in to give her some support just to make sure she doesn't fall. And then before she goes home, Anne helps Charlie with his dinner. And just the nature of COVID-19 means that we believe you're infectious about 2 days before your symptoms start. And it seems that you're most infectious on the day that your symptoms start. So this means that Anne was actually most infectious on this day, and she has now exposed both Betty and Charlie to the virus. Next slide. The next morning on Saturday, Anne wakes up with a fever and she starts to suspect that she might have COVID-19. So she goes in for a test, but those tests can take several days and she won't have the results back until next week. She calls Daisy Senior Living just to let them know her symptoms, but unfortunately there are only 3 nurses on staff and they're all very busy with their day-to-day, and the director of nursing is out for the weekend. So the facility really doesn't have resources to dedicate to contact tracing at this point, especially because Anne's case is not yet confirmed. Next slide. So on Monday, when Anne's test comes back positive, the director of nursing gets right to work doing the manual contact tracing process. For her, that means going through all of last week's assignments to see who Anne may have exposed and also calling Anne to interview her. And through this process, Anne is able to identify Charlie. She remembers helping him with dinner, but she does not recall her brief contact with Betty 3 days before. Next slide. So now we're in a little bit of a bind because it's Betty's 3rd day of her infection, which means that if she hasn't begun shedding viral particles yet, she will very soon. And there's a very short window of opportunity to act before she is able to infect anyone else. But there's really no practical way to identify Betty through traditional contact tracing methods. Next slide. And if Daisy Senior Living is using SafeTrack, this will not be an issue. With SafeTrack, you can interface with electronic health records and public health authorities to import any cases with your staff. And then you can generate a report within a matter of minutes that details anyone they've come into contact to when they were in their expected infectious period. This works by identifying direct contacts, which is anyone who is in extremely close proximity to you for even a short amount of time, as well as close contacts, which is anyone within 6 feet for 10 minutes or more, and proximate contacts. So that would be anyone who's more than 6 feet away, but for a longer period of time, such as anyone who is in the same room for about an hour. And then after you've identified these contacts, the staff can prioritize them based on several different factors, such as their risk factors personally or the number of daily contacts they have, which could indicate how likely they are to spread it to other people. And you can also set up automatic notifications to let these people know that they were exposed and to send resources to them. Next slide.
Thanks, Kelly. So SafeTrack is not a one-stop shop, but is really part of a larger solution for your COVID response. SafeTrack's expertise is in automatically and quickly identifying contacts who may be at risk, notifying them, and then encouraging safe behavior. Together, we can slow the spread of COVID and keep people safe and healthy. Next slide. So what's next? Well, starting today, you can purchase our SafeTrack demo kit from our store. The kit will allow you to test all 3 solutions to do the contact tracing, proximity monitoring, and the geofencing. The kit includes 2 wearables, 5 location beacons, and a 3-month free trial of our software platform. It works in the US, in Canada, in the EU, as well as in India and Australia. There's a limited supply of these demo kits, so I encourage you to order them today so that you can get one. It's clear that COVID-19 is not going away tomorrow or the next day. It's really going to take a team effort to eradicate this disease. I'm confident that our solution can help you get back to work, get back to school, and get back to the new normal. Thank you so much.
Great. Thanks for that, Adam. Much appreciated. Also, Kelly. So this is our Q&A section. So I'm going to check in the chat, and somebody's asking about archiving and making it available. So yes, as we mentioned at the top of the hour, we will make this available, make this recording available. The next question is from Tadao Koyama. Hopefully I'm pronouncing that correctly. And Adam, this question is for you. How does the device read the location, GPS signal, only Bluetooth, or some triangulation system via LoRaWAN?
Yeah, great question. So for the indoor location, it uses Bluetooth, Bluetooth beacons. And then for the outdoor location, it uses a triangulation method using LoRa. There's other available CareBand devices that use GPS, but for this solution alone, it's just using those methods.
Okay. Tado asked a follow-up question about supporting LoRaWAN for, I believe he's asking about Australia, AU915, and I think you already said yes.
Yes.
Australia support. And Paul asks, how precise is the location information? Floor in a multi-level building, for instance.
Yes, so for indoor location depends on the setup and the level of accuracy that you're looking for. You can do either room and floor level accuracy, or you could do intra-room level accuracy. It really depends on what the use case is that you're doing. For the senior living context, we've done both, where we track where people are on just on a section of the building or what room they're in, as well as tracking them specifically within a physical therapy room, gym, to see where they're going within that gym. So it really just depends on the needs.
Okay. Paul said, thank you for that, Adam. David asks, well, he says, congrats on your recent success. What are some other key areas you are looking to sell SafeTrack to?
So I think SafeTrack can work in a variety of industries beyond COVID-19. We really see it as an opportunity to solve this core need and desperate need today. But for wearable LoRaWAN devices, there's not many options out there. We feel confident that there's a lot of options, a lot of use cases with lone workers, with senior living, and with a number of other applications. Great.
Boris Resnick, actually, I think this one is for me. Do you envision adding satellite-based LoRaWAN, example, Lacuna Space, into blockchain-based network? It's definitely possible. I mean, the blockchain and the foundation that we have built is really network agnostic. So you could absolutely leverage it for either cellular or satellite-based connectivity as well. Jack, this is for you, Adam. Do you have a deployment of the solution in a senior center with data, or is it early in the COVID space?
Yes, so we currently have multiple deployments happening. We have one going on in Toronto with the dementia unit. We have another one here in Chicago with a nursing home. And then we have a few more that we're talking to right now with different universities.
Okay, great. From Matt G, can the tracker obtain other information such as simple biomarkers like temperature, glucose levels, or an accelerometer to detect sudden falls, etc.?
So today the device focuses on location and a few other behavior metrics around agitation, depression, kind of engagement with their environment. We find those are very valuable for people with dementia. In terms of other vital monitors, they're definitely things that we've considered for future iterations of the device. In terms of falls and such, we're really focused on being able to predict when there's going to be a fall instead of the actual fall. So understanding what that risk level is of the fall so that you can ideally intervene before the fall happens. Okay, great.
David That's very cool, innovative ideas here. Brittany, does CareBand sell direct or only through distributors?
So we do both. So you can buy directly from our website for now, but we also work through a few different distributors, and we're looking for more partners with that as well.
Cool. Another question, if we want to try CareBand and do not have Helium network, how do we get Helium to our city? So there's another number of options. Well, you could, as we said, go to helium.com/store and purchase Helium hotspots. Another way that you can do it is you could, Adam, I believe there's a bundle that you guys are planning with CareBand as well with Helium hotspots. And if, if there's really not an option for you, or you don't want to purchase hotspots, then you can contact Helium and we can work something out. Brian Huang, sorry, I didn't hear the answer to one of the previous questions. Does the device use cellular or Bluetooth for its location services?
So it's non-cellular based and non-smartphone based. So it uses Bluetooth for location, and then it also uses LoRaWAN for location for triangulation.
Right. I think, as we mentioned before, cellular is very challenging to use for these type of use cases, in that one is expensive, two, the battery life is not very long as well. From, I hope I'm pronouncing the name correctly, Jochen or Jochin, who takes care of marking/demarking a person as COVID-19? How long is data stored?
So the dashboard enables the organization to manage all the cases. It is up to the organization and how they want to enter the information into there. So you can enter just by device ID or by the person's name, depending on what kind of privacy controls you want to have. And the data can be stored initially just for that case, can be deleted after that, or it can be stored as long as you're using the solution.
Okay, great. The next one is from Lance. What is the backhaul from the Helium hotspot, the internet? So the backhaul is just Wi-Fi or Ethernet. So during onboarding, which is a very streamlined process with a mobile app, you can simply attach it to your Wi-Fi or just plug it directly in with an Ethernet cable. The next one, how many Helium hotspots are needed per city to create enough coverage? So there's a number of factors involved in terms of, how big is the city? Is the city mountainous or flat? But what we've typically seen is 50 hotspots for a smaller city and 100, 150 for a larger city. But there's a number of factors that depends on, as I mentioned, including how these hotspots are dispersed throughout the city as well. Susan asks, are you going to market together? So yes. If so, what is the profile of the ideal customer? Size, vertical, internal competency. What kind of support do you provide? What services are associated with the solution? Can I make money complementing your services with mine? Okay. So yes, we're going to market together. The profile of the ideal customer, I think Adam has talked about universities, healthcare facilities. Sorry, Adam, there's some that I'm missing.
Manufacturing and corporations.
Right. Definitely, especially like meat processing type of manufacturing. Support, and then services associated with the solution. Adam, I don't know if you want to provide some details about the support and their services that you guys are providing.
Yeah, so we have both technical support and customer support available through our website, and happy to help with training initially and onboarding.
Right, great. And the last one for Susan, can I make money complementing your services with mine? Not sure, Susan, not sure what your services are, so potentially. Brittany asked, Who are the decision makers in healthcare?
So for the senior living facilities, it depends on the organization. Typically, it's administrators or executive directors, as well as the owners of the senior living organization. There's also usually some kind of COVID-19 task force in these organizations, so working with them is important as well.
Great. Vivek, I think. Who do we contact to buy the SafeTrack kit? So Adam had posted a slide about this, so you can purchase it directly from their website. And let's go here. And is it easy to self-install with Helium Hotspots? Yes. So not just SafeTrack, but any device can be onboarded very easily with our device management console. So you go to console.helium.com, you sign up, and we've got a number of tutorials to help people onboard devices. So you don't have to be an engineer to actually get data transferring over the Helium network, whether it's from CareBand and one of their SafeTrack, part of their SafeTrack wearables, or any type of off-the-shelf commodity device as long as it supports LoRaWAN. Chris Campbell says, great presentation, folks. Thank you. Well, thank you, Chris, for participating and appreciate the kind words. And that brings us to the last.
I have a question for the Helium guys.
Okay.
So I live in Bloomington, Indiana, and I just looked up, I think there's 3 devices here. And so would it be possible for myself as an individual to purchase the individual Helium hotspots and ask, say, neighbors and friends to install those devices through their internet connections to help build a more more fully fleshed out network within the city?
Yeah, thanks. I'm sorry, what was your name?
John Talbot.
Okay, thanks, John. So we actually, your request is actually it's a common one that we get. And we have a program called Patron Program. And so people who actually want to really participate in this network, they can buy 15 hotspots and you become part of this network, this program. And what that will do is provide you additional resources. There's communities in our Slack channel that talk about this very topic, and there's resources available for people to help recruit hosts to host hotspots.
So, and the other question that follow on to that would be, so we have areas in our city that have really robust optical fiber, high-speed upload, high-speed download internet connections. And then there's places like my house, which sucks because we have AT&T. So if I were to set up and collaborate with others, would we be able to benefit from faster speeds that some others within our community enjoy by using these? Because I assume we can, at the end of the day, it's basically an internet connection, right? That my son could still hook up to and play video games.
That's right. Yeah, absolutely. So, as we mentioned, hook up hotspots with either Wi-Fi or Ethernet, and the amount of data that is transferred from devices is very small, right? Because temperature reading, location. There is a decent amount of traffic that is among the devices because they are verifying that these other hotspots are creating coverage. It's part of the way that the network is testing to make sure that participants in the network are doing what they say they're doing. But yeah, I think so. Hopefully that answers your question.
Well, I think I'm misunderstanding. I was so only IoT devices will be able to push data up and down using these. Is that correct?
Yes, sir. Yeah.
Okay. Thanks.
Yep. So Lance, thanks, John. So Lance, these are LoRaWAN hotspots, not Wi-Fi. Correct. Yeah. So these hotspots are to connect IoT devices, sensors across really long ranges. So the backhaul is Wi-Fi and Ethernet, but the actual connectivity for the devices is using LoRaWAN. All right.
Do you want to sanitize anything before we take up? Does this bowl need to be clean?
I'm sorry. I wasn't. I'm sorry, I didn't understand the question. Okay.
Someone muted. Duh.
Okay. So somebody asked, can you send a still image data over Helium network? Not really. The network's not really meant for sending images or audio or video. It's really meant for, it's purpose built for those IoT devices that are sending, say, temperature information or humidity or location, pressure readings, that kind of stuff. So thank you everyone for sticking around. Really appreciate it. So every time I start signing off, people ask more questions. Is the system usable in France? So we are, as you saw, we are selling currently into the EU. And as Adam said, his SafeTrack wearables support EU as well. So there's a question about tokens and exchanges. So go to helium.com/tokens if you want to read up more about HNT and the system for tokens and data credits. But just to make it very clear, we're not involved in exchanges or the buying and selling tokens. We are focused on the network. All right. Anything you wanted to end with, Adam or Kelly? Thank you again, guys, for participating and doing a great job talking about SafeTrack.
Yeah, thank you for the opportunity, and I look forward to talking with you guys more soon. Thank you.
Awesome. All right. Well, thanks everybody, and have a great rest of your day.